Welcome to part 2 of Fern Brethower's story. In this segment, Fern talks about the fellowship and cooperation that she felt during the 20s and 30s in her community and in her family. You talk about fellowship. Tell me stories about that time and how people supported one another through fellowship and community.
Well, my parents were religious, and they always attended church, and the fellowship that we had at church seemed to be we always felt close, but I can't remember anybody I didn't feel close to. I always felt close to everybody.
So tell me again what year you graduated from high school?
36.
1936. And you said that by then things looked pretty hopeful. That you, as a high school student, you felt like things were...
Well, I can't remember feeling hopeless. Hope was a part of our life. You know what I mean? We didn't talk about, well, things are rough and what in the hell are we going to do? That wasn't the way it went. We sat down to a meal and we grew a lot of potatoes. We raised our meat and we said our thanks for what we had. We ate it, enjoyed it, and got up and went to work.
What was your job as a child? What kind of work did you do?
Gathering eggs, and we were learning to sew, and we got to go to the meetings that were held by the 4-H groups, and that was always fun because an association of other young kids, and so we pretty much met every kid in the county because in the county fair and
What other ways did people get together back then? You said 4-H was big, the county fair. What other things were going on in the community at that time?
I can't remember that there was anything extra, you know what I mean? That was it.
So what did you do for fun?
Well, that was our fun. Going to those meetings and association with other people in the church, in the community. And we never thought of ourselves so much as really, well, we thought of ourselves as families, of course, but we never thought of ourselves as being different. We were a part of a community, and they were doing the same things we were doing with us, and so that was it.
Yeah, and you said that everybody was in this sort of the same situation, so there wasn't distinction from one or the other.
No, we were all we all wore the same kind of clothing and did the same things socially, which was getting together with people seemed to be the part that kept us.
Was there cooperation during work? Like, did your dad have help from other farmers during harvest?
Sometimes, yes. If they did at butchering season, they would butcher for several people. The neighbors would bring their hogs and their cows, different times, of course.
You talked about your parents always instilled hope and the faith that things were going to get better or be better, or they weren't as bad as other people thought. How did they do that? What sort of things would they say to you? Do you remember a particular saying that...
I can't remember particular words, but I can remember a feeling of just a feeling that we had that things were going to be okay. And that was the end of it. If they're going to be okay, what's to talk about?
So your parents were pretty reassuring.
Oh, yes. I always like to think of my childhood because it was happy. And recalling my childhood still means much to me.
What was a particularly happy time for you as a child? Do you have a special memory?
Just going to school and playing. We lived 1.5 miles out, what we called out in the country. And this little village, and it was small. We had 2 grocery stores. We had a cafe that you didn't go there for Sunday dinner, but I know that she would serve camel soup for somebody who wanted to buy a lunch. And I can remember the chair, and she had always had ice cream. And I can remember the chairs that were those, we call them ice cream chairs.
They were metal chairs?
Yes, they were
twisted,
metal wire, heavy.
Yes.
And it was kind of a gathering place, too. I don't know why. But people seemed to gather there, and the guys talked business. And how the crops were, and then when and there was always a kind of it wasn't an argument, but it was a back and forth thing about whether you should buy a tractor or whether you should farm with horses. And my dad was on the tractor side because he thought it was progress. And that he wanted a tractor. He bought a tractor. I don't know what he used for money, but he bought a tractor, and we farmed with a tractor.
So there was the tractor and the horse community, and they
kind
of argued back and forth about which was better.
Correct.
When that dust, the dust that caused that accident when you were a young girl, did you happen to watch the Dust Bowl program, the Ken Burns?
Oh, yes. I love that program.
What did that bring up for you? I mean, there must have been memories there.
Lots of memories because it was very well done. And the feeling that came into you as you watched it, because you said, I was there. Because you were there, and it's something you never forgot, and you lived through it, and you came out on the other side. So I suppose that the thing that I got from that the most was the fact you can be hit in the face, but somehow you go on. You don't quit. You just go on. You try again.
Well, it took a particular kind of hope for you folks, because that was one of the greatest environmental catastrophes that's happened then or now. And you were a teenager at the time.
I was a teenager, and I really, in thinking back, I wonder how my dad remained as optimistic as he did. 5 children and really no money, but he did, and my mother too. I had beautiful parents, and I am so thankful for the parents I had that it's hard for me to talk about them.
It makes you emotional.
Yes, it does.
Well, don't worry about being emotional, because I'm just like you that way. So, and I have wonderful parents, but I would like you to talk a little bit about your parents. Describe them for me.
Well, my dad was the one of German heritage, and he had come from a big family. I think there were 10 kids in the family he was born into. And they were a wild variety.
A
There was
mixture.
the youngest boy I know went to World War One. I remember Uncle Walt had been a veteran, and so, but as far as I know, he was the only one in the family that ever went to war. And I don't know why my dad didn't. He was older, and he had a big family, and he was trying to raise food on the farm, so he never was involved in the military at all.
Yeah, we needed our farmers as well as our soldiers at that time
Yeah.
to feed the troops. What about your mom?
My mother died when she was quite young. She was a hard worker. I know that everybody talked about the way my mother worked. Well, I didn't think so at the time. I thought every woman worked that way. But she did lots of sewing, and she did things for other people. That was her nature. And she was just a beautiful person.
That concludes part 2 of Fern Brethower's story. Part 3 is also available on this website.